wrote one of your biggest hits. I wrote 90% of the music since I've been with her.
I'm concerned.
I've done that shit with girlfriends.
He got tapes. He got tapes. This nigga's on audio saying he got tapes and pictures of you and that he can expose it at any time. I'm concerned. I'm gonna want to do something.
Listen. I know what people care about. That man, he cares about what y'all think. I don't care about what y'all think. Like, unfortunately, not trying to be funny. I appreciate my fans and people that I actually...
Have you ever wondered what happens when trust, intimacy, and betrayal all collide in the public eye? Remy Ma just shook the hip-hop world by allegedly leaking a scandalous tape one that features her own husband, Papoose, and boxing champ, Claressa Shields. What was supposed to stay private is now viral, messy, and full of unanswered questions. Is this a case of petty revenge or powerful payback? Buckle up, we're diving deep into the real story behind the tape, the drama, and the motive. In the world of hip-hop, few love stories have been celebrated as deeply and loyally as that of Remy Ma and Papoose for over a decade. Their relationship stood as a symbol of resilience and commitment to power couple that had weathered storms, faced public scrutiny, and somehow stayed united through it all. When Remy was sentenced to prison for 6 years, in 2008, many assumed the relationship would fizzle out like so many do under pressure. But Papoose proved them all wrong. He visited her regularly, remained loyal, and even married her behind bars. When she was released, he was waiting with open arms. It was the kind of story that made people believe in loyalty again, especially in an industry where betrayal often dominates headlines. Together, Remy and Papoose capitalized on their bond. They appeared on reality television shows, spoke at public events, and painted an image of unity. They were the hip-hop version of Bonnie and Clyde, only with fewer bullets and more bars. Fans adored them. They weren't just husband and wife. They were a brand. But like all things that appear to perfect, cracks eventually started to show. Over the past year, things had shifted. Observant fans noticed that Remy was no longer wearing her wedding ring as often. In interviews where she once beamed about her husband, her answers became shorter, colder. And then came the photos. Papoose smiling just a bit too hard next to someone else. That someone was Claressa Shields, two-time Olympic gold medalist and
individual she was locked up with. The female, I ain't think nothing of it. So I caught her with this individual in our house while my daughter was on the bed with her.
in boxing, rising media personality, and a friend of both Remy and Papoose. At first, her presence didn't raise alarms. She was known to move in celebrity circles. She had appeared at several events alongside the couple, even praising Remy publicly as a strong woman and role model. But something about her dynamic with Papoose began to attract attention. They laughed a little too closely in backstage videos. They stood just a little too near in photos. And then, out of nowhere, came the bombshell. A tape surfaced online. Staged, explicit video allegedly showing Papoose and Claressa in an intimate setting, not hand-holding or a friendly hug, but something far more revealing. It's a kind of footage no one wants leaked, especially not celebrities who've built their brand around love and loyalty. At first, people thought it was a hoax. With the rise of AI and deepfakes, many questioned its authenticity. But within hours, experts and eagle-eyed fans had already dissected it frame by frame. Tattoos matched, voice clips were analyzed. Consensus, it was real. And what made it even more scandalous was the rumor that Remy Ma herself had leaked the video. No one has officially confirmed that. Not Remy, not Papoose, not Claressa. But the internet doesn't wait for confirmation. Once the rumor started, it spread like wildfire. The narrative was
Listen. I know what people care about. That man, he cares about what y'all think. I don't care about what y'all think. Like, unfortunately, not trying to be funny. I appreciate my fans and people that are actually my fans and that love me. You understand?
It's too juicy, too chaotic, too perfectly tragic to ignore. Remy finds out her husband is cheating with a friend. In a moment of rage or maybe calculated revenge, she leaks the tape herself. Whether true or not, it became the accepted truth online. Social media lit up. Twitter turned into a courtroom. TikTokers acted out fake reenactments. Gossip pages posted supposed dimes and secret texts. People weren't just reacting, they were emotionally invested. Some labeled Remy as a queen of revenge, a woman reclaiming her power after betrayal. Others were horrified, warning that leaking private content without consent and retaliation was still a crime. Hashtags like #RemyMaRevenge and #PAPOOC exposed trended globally. Instagram stories flooded with think pieces. Claressa's name, previously tied to her boxing legacy, was now trending for all the wrong reasons. As the hours turned into days, the damage deepened. Claressa's sponsors reportedly pulled back from campaigns. She deactivated comments on her social media accounts. Papoose remained silent, perhaps hoping the storm would pass. And Remy? She offered no official statement, only a cryptic Instagram story that read, "Loyalty has an expiration date when you play with fire." That single sentence fanned the flames even more. Fans interpreted it as a subtle confession, others as a general commentary. But in the absence of facts, speculation became gospel. The public watched, tweeted, posted, and judged. Think pieces poured out about infidelity, revenge porn, digital ethics, and the downfall of Black celebrity relationships. What stood out, though, was how quickly the image of Remy and Papoose transformed. Once the model couple for staying solid in chaos, now they were a case study in how fast trust can disintegrate in public. And Claressa, caught in the middle, was reduced to a name in a headline that didn't mention her titles, just her alleged scandal. Some observers questioned whether this was all staged. Could this be a PR stunt gone wrong or right? Was someone else behind the leak entirely? Could a hacked iCloud account or a bitter third party be responsible? As conspiracy theories flourished, so did the real consequences. Public embarrassment, online harassment, and potential legal complications were now part of everyone's reality. What makes this story more disturbing isn't just the betrayal, it's how quickly something so private became public entertainment. A relationship that survived prison, fame, and pressure was now hanging by a thread over a viral leak. And in a world where nothing is ever truly deleted, the repercussions are long-lasting. Remy, Papoose, and Claressa are now not just dealing with personal heartbreak, but public dissection. Fans who once rooted for them are now picking sides. Every silence, every cryptic tweet, every deleted post is analyzed like a clue dot. It's not just a scandal, it's a cultural moment. One that says a lot about how we treat celebrity, betrayal, and justice. The court of law hasn't spoken. The people involved haven't given us a press conference. But the internet has already passed judgment. Whether Remy leaked the video in a fit of heartbreak, or whether someone else used the scandal to spark chaos, the fallout is unavoidable. The perfect couple isn't perfect anymore. The loyal husband may no longer be loyal. And the woman caught in the middle, despite all her athletic greatness, is now being judged for something deeply personal. What comes next remains to be seen. But one thing is certain, no one involved in this story walks away unchanged. In the days following the tapes leak, the atmosphere around all three individuals, Remy, Ma, Papoose, and Claressa Shields, turned suffocating. What was once a private implosion of a relationship had become public property. The internet wasn't done with them yet. In fact, the real chaos had only just begun. Remy Ma, long hailed as a queen in the rap game and a survivor of personal struggle, now found herself in unfamiliar territory. For once, she wasn't being praised for a hard-hitting verse or celebrated for overcoming adversity. She was being watched closely. Every move she made was dissected. Paparazzi followed her car. Bloggers zoomed in on her facial expressions. Her silence, which might have once been viewed as grace under pressure, was now seen as suspicious. People expected a statement, a confession, a clapback. Instead, she gave them ambiguity. Her Instagram remained active but cryptic. Quote here, a song lyric there. Some fans speculated she was hurt but couldn't speak due to legal advice. Others claimed she was behind the leak and keeping quiet to avoid incriminating herself. A few went as far as to say this was all a calculated play for attention, an album rollout, a brand move, a PR ploy. It was exhausting, but silence in the digital age is never truly quiet. It only fuels speculation. Papoose, usually known for his quiet strength and his loyalty-first persona, had all but disappeared from the public eye. No interviews, no statements, no tweets. For someone whose brand was built on supporting Remy through prison, through career relaunches, and through motherhood, the sudden ghosting felt loud. Fans began turning on him. The same people who once admired him were now questioning whether the loyalty he preached was all just performance. They posted side-by-side photos, Papoose with Remy at court in 2008. And then Papoose, allegedly shirtless, in a leaked video with Claressa. The contrast was brutal. People began digging. Old interviews, old tweets, clips from Love and Hip Hop. Any trace of inconsistency was thrown into the mix. There was even a resurfaced podcast clip where Remy jokingly warned women not to trust men just because they smile sweet. It suddenly felt prophetic. Everything was being reinterpreted under the light of betrayal. Meanwhile, Claressa Shields, who had always presented herself as fearless in and out of the ring, found herself dealing with a kind of battle she couldn't punch her way out of. As a boxer, she had endured sexist comments, unfair treatment, and countless physical challenges. But nothing had prepared her for this level of public shaming. The internet can be ruthless, especially toward women caught in the center of a scandal involving sex, betrayal, and fame. Almost overnight, Claressa's name was stripped of her achievements and rebranded with scandal. It didn't matter that she was a history-making athlete. Now, to the world, she was the other woman, the one who allegedly slept with her friend's husband. Her silence was deafening too, but understandable. Every time she posted about boxing or training, her comments were flooded with snake emojis, insults, and unrelenting judgment. People asked how she could show her face in public again. They demanded she apologize. But apologize for what? The tape was never confirmed as authentic. Claressa had made no public admission, and yet the court of public opinion had already convicted her. The more the three of them stayed silent, the more people filled in the blanks with their own versions of the truth. YouTubers uploaded 10-minute breakdowns analyzing eye contact and timelines. TikTokers dramatized fake text conversations and pretended to be insiders with exclusive tea. Celebrities began to weigh in. Some defended Remy's right to react however she wanted if she was betrayed. Others cautioned that leaking private content was never justified, especially when it bordered on revenge porn. A serious criminal offense in several states. Legal analysts began making videos explaining the possible consequences if Remy was behind the leak. In most U.S. jurisdictions, sharing intimate content without consent is punishable by hefty fines or even jail time. Even if she didn't leak the video herself, if it came from a device registered to her or her household, she could face charges. Suddenly, this wasn't just about hurt feelings. It was about potential legal action. Behind closed doors, insiders whispered about damage control. Claressa's team was reportedly meeting with publicists and attorneys to strategize next moves. Papoose was said to be staying with family in Brooklyn, avoiding the media altogether. Remy, according to a few unnamed sources, was devastated but unapologetic. She had allegedly told close friends that she'd rather burn it all down than be disrespected publicly. As the days turned into weeks, the narrative became more complex. Some started to feel uncomfortable with how quickly Remy was being painted as the villain. The same internet that once uplifted her for surviving prison and rebuilding her life was now branding her a jealous, vindictive woman. Double standards became a hot topic. When men cheat, society shrugs. But when women retaliate, even allegedly, they're instantly branded unhinged. People started to ask bigger questions. Why do we enjoy celebrity scandals so much? Why do we ignore the human beings behind the headlines? And what does it say about us when we laugh at someone else's pain because it comes with a famous face? Oh, some of Remy's core fans remained fiercely loyal. They flooded her page with hearts and fire emojis. They called her a warrior, a queen, a woman taking control of her narrative. But others were torn. Even if she had every reason to be angry, was leaking a tape, assuming she did. Ever justifiable. And then there was the kids. Remy and Papoose share a young daughter. Papoose has older children from previous relationships. People began questioning what the long-term damage of this public mess would be on their families. This wasn't just a story for social media, it was real life for those involved. Real emotions, real consequences, real scars. What made this scandal even more unique was how fast it moved and how deeply it cut. Unlike the old tabloid days where scandals slowly unraveled in weekly magazines, this one erupted instantly. Within hours, lives were changed. Within days, reputations were shredded. Within weeks, brands were affected, contracts lost, and futures questioned. Yet, there's no ending. Not yet. The tape's origin remains officially unverified. No lawsuits have been filed publicly. No interviews have been given. The silence continues, and so does the speculation. What's clear, though, is that this scandal wasn't just about one tape. It's about the fragile nature of image, trust, and privacy in a hyper-connected world. One mistake, one betrayal, one leak, and everything you built can fall apart in minutes. Remy Ma, once the poster child for second chances, now stands at a crossroads. Papoose, once admired for his loyalty, is now a ghost. And Claressa, once only known for strength, is now fighting to reclaim her name from something she never publicly admitted to. The question on everyone's mind now isn't whether the tape was real. It's whether the people involved can survive it. Can Remy recover her image? Can Papoose rebuild trust? Can Claressa ever go back to being just a champion in the ring and not a headline? The answers are coming. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow. But one thing is certain, the fallout from this moment will echo far beyond the internet's attention span. The dust had begun to settle, but the damage was already woven into the fabric of their lives. The internet had moved on to the next trending scandal, but for Remy Ma, Papoose, and Claressa Shields, the aftermath wasn't so easily dismissed. When something that personal, that intimate, gets aired out in front of millions, you don't just log off and move on. It stays. In the whispers, the glances, the way your name is typed into Google forever. And the worst part? None of them had even told their side of the story, yet the world had already decided who they were, in private. Things were far more complicated than the black and white morality that social media tried to force onto the situation. Remy Ma, who had once been at the center of the hip-hop redemption arc, was now being pulled in every direction. Legal advisors warned her to say nothing. Publicists debated whether she should issue a statement or let the storm pass in silence. But what do you say when people believe the worst about you, and every word you speak could be used as evidence, in court or in public opinion? Her silence, once seen as powerful, now felt like a cage. She had been betrayed, humiliated, and now vilified. If she didn't leak the tape, she was being framed. If she did, she might be facing real legal consequences. Either way, she had lost something that couldn't be put back together. Not just a relationship, but the version of herself that the public used to believe in. Behind the scenes, Remy was reportedly broken, but holding it together for the sake of her daughter. Her inner circle had tightened. Trust was now a currency she could no longer afford to spend easily. What made it worse was how much of this unfolded in the same world where she had fought so hard to rebuild her life, the music industry, the culture, the audience she once inspired. It was a cruel twist of fate that the same fame that lifted her up was now being used to drag her down. As for Papoose, his silence had done nothing to protect him. If anything, it made him look guiltier. For someone who had spoken so much about loyalty, who had built his entire identity around being the good man who waited for his queen, the fall was swift and harsh. The internet was particularly unforgiving to him. Memes mocked him, calling him the king of cap. Photos of him once holding Remy's hand through courtroom doors were now edited to show him with Claressa. Dripping with betrayal, sources close to him claimed that he was devastated and confused. Some said he still denied cheating. Others said he felt set up, that the video was taken out of context or never meant to be shared. Whether it was real, misinterpreted, or flat out manipulated, one thing was clear: he had lost control of his own story. The same public that had once seen him as the most loyal man in hip-hop now didn't want to hear anything he had to say. Silence, unlike Remy's, wasn't read as strategy. It was read as cowardice. Meanwhile, Claressa Shields was caught in the crossfire of a scandal she may never have asked to be part of. Unlike Remy and Papoose, she wasn't used to navigating hip-hop's brutal gossip cycles. Her world had always been the ring: training, discipline, pride, sweat. Now, she was being dragged across headlines like she was part of a reality show she never auditioned for. Some fans stood by her, reminding people that she had achieved more in her career than most could dream of. But for many others, she had been reduced to the other woman, a caricature, a trope. Didn't matter how many belts she held or how many lives she inspired through her journey from poverty to podiums. The scandal had become bigger than her resume. For every comment that supported her, there were 10 that tore her apart. And she, like Remy, had to decide: stay silent or speak out. Legally, all 3 of them were walking a minefield. If the video had been leaked without consent, and especially if it showed acts recorded without full knowledge, someone could be facing serious consequences. Revenge porn laws had evolved rapidly over the past few years. What might have once been dismissed as a private matter could now easily end up in court. Lawyers were involved. Quiet calls were being made. Public relations teams were drafting statements, only to have them scrapped and rewritten 10 times over. But the legal consequences weren't even the biggest threat. It was the cultural ones. Reputations in today's world are fragile. It doesn't take a judge or a jury to ruin someone's career. It just takes a viral moment and the right narrative. And for Remy, Papoose, and Claressa, the narrative had already spiraled far out of their control. Remy's music career, already slowed in recent years, was now at risk of stalling completely. Brands didn't want to associate with potential legal controversies. Booking agents hesitated. Public opinion was too hot to handle. For a woman who had climbed back from prison to reestablish herself, it felt like a new kind of punishment. One without bars, but just as confining. Real won reputation to keep him relevant and respected. Now, he was being labeled a fraud. Not just a man who cheated, but a man who sold loyalty as a brand and failed to live up to it. Claressa, who should have been preparing for her next fight, was instead ducking metaphorical punches from every direction. She didn't deserve to be reduced to this. No one does. But that's what scandal does. It reduces. It flattens complexity into something that fits a headline, a tweet, a meme. In the end, there were no winners. Not even the fans. Because what started as a shocking moment of gossip had turned into a mirror. One that reflected back how addicted we are to drama, how quick we are to judge, and how slow we are to ask real questions. Did anyone deserve what happened to them? What does deserve even mean when it comes to betrayal? What would any of us do if someone exposed our most vulnerable moments to the world? And yet, within all the chaos, there's a strange kind of truth. Scandals like this aren't just about who cheated or who leaked what. They're about power, about control, about who gets to tell the story and who's left behind to live with it. In this case, the story ran wild, and all three of them are now trying to pick up the pieces. Maybe one day they'll speak. Maybe Remy will drop a track. Maybe Papoose will issue an apology or a denial. Maybe Claressa will give an interview. And finally, share her side. Or maybe they'll all stay silent, move on, and let the scandal fade into digital history. But even if the noise quiets, the echo will remain. In the comments, in the questions, in the awkward silences when their names come up. Because in the end, no matter who you are, there's one thing: no fame, no money. No title can protect you from heartbreak in the public eye. This story isn't just about a scandal, it's about love, loyalty, betrayal, and how fast the internet can turn lives upside down. So now it's your turn. Do you think Remy was petty, or was it pure payback? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't hold back. Like, share, and hit that subscribe button if you want more real, raw stories from the culture. No sugarcoating, just truth. Because around here, we don't just report drama, unpack the why behind it.